Balloting is now complete for Article 7. While those ballots are being counted, we'll move on with the warrant. And at such time as they have a count for us, we'll announce that to you. And some of you may stay, some of you may choose not to stay. We'll take the temperature of town meeting at that point if people want to continue, as some of us do, to get this done tonight. But we'll see how people feel. But there's no reason not to go forward now while we're waiting for the votes to be counted. So with that, I'll move to Article 8, which is the rescission of unused borrowing authorization. Requires a 2/3 vote. Moved and seconded by the Board of Selectmen that the town vote to approve Article 8 as printed in the warrant. And the Finance Committee and Board of Selectmen both support Article 8. I will turn to Selectman Joe Knox for the presentation.
Thank you, Mr. Moderator. This article simply rescinds unused portion of a previously authorized borrowing article that didn't have to be used because it was funded in different ways. So basically, we're just rescinding it because it's not needed. Thank you.
All right, thank you. Anyone who wishes to speak with respect to Article 8? If not, we'll proceed to a vote, remembering that it requires a 2/3 majority. All those in favor of the motion as read under Article 8, please signify by saying aye. Aye. Those opposed? The ayes have it, and it passes by a unanimous vote, and I so declare. Thank you very much. We'll move on now to Article 9, Mill Pond Restoration Project Feasibility Study. And that has been moved and seconded by the Board of Selectmen that the town vote to approve Article 9 as printed in the warrant. I'll turn to, you'll see that the Finance Committee, Selectmen, and Clean Lakes Committee all support Article 9. I'll turn to Selectman DeCoste for the explanation.
Thank you, Mr. Moderator. So Article 9 is Mill Pond Restoration Feasibility Study Fund, supplemental fund for $19,500. This increases the town's share of the Army Corps of Engineers, $174,000 for the feasibility study, from $67,500 up to $87,000. Upon completion of the study, the Army Corps of Engineers could proceed to the project design and construction with a 65% federal cost share of up to $2 million. And the town's 35% share will be $1 million borrowed over 15 years, and this will be paid for by the Clean Lakes Committee cell tower funds.
Okay, thank you. Anyone wishes to be heard with regard to Article 9? If not, we'll proceed to a vote. On the motion as read, remembering that it requires a simple majority vote. All those in favor of the motion as read under Article 9, please signify by saying aye. Aye. Those opposed? The ayes have it. Motion carries unanimously. Thank you very much. We'll move now to Article 10, acquisition of 34 Cedar Road for Littleton Water Department. This involves an acquisition of an interest in land, so it requires a 2/3 vote. I'll turn to Selectman and Water Commissioner Jim Carr to explain this article.
You want to read the motion then, Mr.
Yeah. Oh, yeah, no, I probably should read the motion, yeah. Moved and seconded by the Board of Water Commissioners that the town vote to approve Article 10 as printed in the warrant, and to appropriate and borrow the sum of $200,000, therefore, and to authorize the treasurer, with the approval of the Board of Selectmen, to issue any bonds or notes that may be necessary for that purpose, as authorized by Mass General Law, Chapter 44, or any other enabling authority. Selectman Carr.
Thank you, Mr. Moderator. So this is for the Cedar Hill standpipe. That's a big tank that will need to be replaced within the next 10 to 12 years. The acquisition of this property will enable the water department to actually have a new tank built while the existing is still in use. I had a resident come up to me tonight and ask about the notifications in regards to the replacement of the standpipe. The commissioners will be holding public hearings for input for neighbors and the town. With the approval of this article, we'll be able to have a piece of property next to that standpipe. Thank you.
Thank you. Is there anyone who wishes to speak with respect to Article 10? If not, oh, I'm sorry, we do have someone. Yes, sir.
Question. It looks like this is a private residence. Is this being bought, with the willing owner willing to sell to the town, or is the town going to take this more forcibly?
Willing.
All right, thank you. Anyone else wishes to, yes, sir?
Hi, Elijah Eidenwild, Harvard Road. I'm just curious about the language here. This says appropriate $200,000 or some other amount. Do we have an idea of what that other amount could be? Thank you.
I think you may be reading the article language. The actual motion is at the bottom of that page, where it says to appropriate and borrow the sum of $200,000, therefore.
Okay. Thank you.
So it is borrowing, which I hate to remind folks, but if the vote's not unanimous, we're going to do that ballot and checklist thing again. However, hope springs eternal. And do we have, yes we do, okay. Senator Mike.
Assessment on the property, because there was a place on that hill for sale for less money in the last 3-4 months.
Okay, thank you.
Is it the same property? I mean,
I don't remember well enough.
yeah, there's 2 parcels that we're acquiring.
But what is the current assessment for that property?
By the Board of Assessors, we've negotiated the $200,000.
No, that's not what I was asking. What was
I
on
don't
their
have the
tax-
assessed amount.
Right, I'm wondering what was on their tax bill.
Okay, I'll recognize General Manager Edwards.
Thank you. Yeah, I can answer that. It's $207,000.
Okay, thank you.
All right, thank you. Anyone else wishes to be heard? If not, we'll move to a vote, and we'll try this by voice vote, remembering that it requires a 2/3 vote, but a unanimous vote in order for the voice vote to stand. So, all those in favor of the motion as read under Article 10, please signify by saying aye. Aye. And those opposed? Okay, the ayes have it. It passes unanimously. Thank you very much, and Madam Clerk, please so record. All right, we'll move to Article 11, which is a 2/3 vote because it involves an acquisition of land, but it is not a borrowing article. I'm pleased to say. Moved and seconded by the Board of Selectmen that the town vote to approve Article 11 as printed in the warrant and to transfer from the CPA Open Space Reserve the sum of $205,000, therefore, as recommended by the Community Preservation Committee. And you'll see that the CPC, Finance Committee, Board of Selectmen, and Conservation Commission all support Article 11. I'll turn to Selectman Chair Melissa Hebert for the presentation.
Thank you, Mr. Moderator. Mass DOT, or the Department of Transportation, was going to put this property up for auction, but the town expressed interest in it. It's directly across the street from the property in the next article, the Joyce Williams property. And we're looking to, or this article asks for $205,000 for this 5.3 acre property for the purposes of passive recreation and conservation.
All right, thank you. Is there anyone who wishes to speak with respect to Article 11? Okay, yes, sir.
Mr. Moderator, Dustin Neild, representing the Littleton Conservation Trust. I have a presentation that's actually applicable to both 11 and 12. Would it be okay to do that now ahead of both?
Is it a brief presentation?
3.5 minutes.
3.5 minutes, go for it. Yep.
All right, I've got a couple of slides. If you guys could forward to those, that would be cool. If not, no big deal. So, Mr. Moderator, friends and neighbors, I'm here tonight on behalf of the Littleton Conservation Trust. It is a rare and special opportunity that we have before us tonight to conserve and preserve pristine lands that are as beautiful and special to our town as the land in these two articles. Shown on the map on the first slide when it comes up is highlighted the Williams property, as well as the DOT parcel that's up for consideration. It's not terribly different than the map that was just up there as well. The Williams property abuts Newtown Hill, and the DOT parcel is nearby and runs up alongside Route 2. The Williams project especially has been an excellent model for how conservation can get done in today's day and age. It is one of the largest conservable pieces of land remaining in Littleton, and it's been a priority for conservation for a long time. Mrs. Williams has been involved and engaged in the conservation dialogue with the Littleton Conservation Trust and others in town for nearly 15 years, maybe more, according to some. Adding to the original proposed purchase has resulted in the opportunity for 35 acres for the Williams property plus the 5 on the DOT parcel. If you advance it one, it'll pop up the DOT thing. Thank you. In addition, it gives us the opportunity to fund this with responsible funding that underlies this transaction. The DOT is funded completely, or it's proposed to be funded completely with CPC funds, and the Williams property is proposed to be funded both with a land grant. The deal is contingent on getting that land grant, as well as support from CPC funds that can be allocated for it, as well as a small part that's borrowed against as well. Remember as well that CPC funds have been already accumulated and set aside for open space purchases just like this one. It is not an increased tax. It's already funds that are set aside. Additionally, financial support for the project has been provided by the Conservation Trust, all with private donations from many of you that are here in the room tonight, and we're very, very thankful for that. Additionally, this is supported by many of the town boards. If you could advance the slide, I'd appreciate it. Thank you. One more. This allows us to put a number of conservation best practices to use. It is not just 35 acres of new conservation land and 5 acres. It links to existing properties, which enhances all of them. The properties feature multiple habitats like the one that you see here. We've got wetlands, preservable agriculture, forest land, as well as important wildlife corridors that help wildlife, move around without getting boxed in by the railroads and by Route 2 and so forth. And by linking multiple properties together, this will move us toward the vision of a unified commuter or bike path from Long Lake all the way to the train station. Lastly, for these reasons, the Conservation Trust encourages everyone to support both Articles 11 and 12, and we especially want to thank everyone that's worked hard over the years to give us this opportunity. Go ahead, forward 2 slides, please. Of course, for property for more than 60 years, as well as Rick Finley and other members of the Conservation Trust that have kept this conversation moving forward over the years, and of course all of the town boards that have lent their support, even recently FinCom, CPC, the Conservation Commission, the Board of Selectmen, and even the town administrator. Appreciate everyone's support. Thank you.
Thank you. All right. Is there anyone else who wishes to speak with respect to Article 11? We're talking about the Mass DOT parcel at this time. Yes, sir.
Good. Thank you. Mitt Wanzer, 39 Mill Road, Chairman of the Community Preservation Committee. Let it be noted at our meeting of October 19th, the CPC voted unanimously in favor of funding the purchase of Mass DOT surplus property using community preservation funds. This project meets the committee's criteria as having support, as pointed out by Dustin, the previous speaker, from other town boards, and it produces an advantageous cost-benefit value, and that has largely to do with its proximity to the Williams land. This value is understood to be the fact that the property has potential for neighborhood walking trails and connecting other properties and parking amenities. Thank you.
Thank you. All right. Anyone else that wishes to speak on Article 11? If not, we'll move to a vote. And bear in mind again, there's a 2/3 supermajority that's required. However, it's not a borrowing article, so no ballot and checklist involved. All those in favor of the motion as read under Article 11, please signify by saying aye. Aye. Those opposed? Okay, it passes by the necessary two-thirds, and I declare it a vote. Thank you very much. We'll now move to Article 12, and the motion for Article 12 is printed on the yellow update sheet that all of you should have gotten on your way in. If you didn't, we probably still have some copies of that. I don't intend to read it in its entirety. Let me say that the motion has been moved and seconded by the Board of Selectmen that the town vote to approve Article 12 as printed in the yellow handout dated November 16th, 2016. All right, and again, I'll turn to Selectman Hebert to make the presentation.
Thank you, Mr. Moderator. As we discussed in the last article, and as this community discusses regularly, open space is a top priority for the selectmen, the community, and I think all of us here. Article 12 authorizes the selectmen to acquire the Joyce Williams property at 31 Boxborough Road for the purposes of conservation and passive recreation. And I won't belabor, Dustin did a great job on giving an overview of a lot of these key points, but just quickly, Joyce Williams, the property owner, has wanted to, or has been working with the town to reach an agreement and wanting to really conserve this land for passive recreation and conservation. The property is 2 parcels, which total over 35 acres. It's directly abutting the 95-acre Newtown Hill conservation land, and again, is across the street from the property which we just discussed in the last article, the Mass DOT surplus. Joyce is actually here with us. Thank you. If you want to just give a wave or stand up, and thank you so much. Thank you for this opportunity. And we hope you support us for this important purchase for our community.
Okay. Thank you very much. We've heard a presentation on this article from the Conservation Trust. Is there anyone else who wishes to speak with respect to Article 12? And it is a 2/3 majority vote. It does involve borrowing, and you know what that means. So I'll recognize Mitt Wanzer of the Community Preservation Committee.
Thank you, Mr. Moderator. At our meeting of November 9th this year, the CPC voted unanimously in support of Article 12. Thank you.
Thank you. All right. Yes, sir.
George Sanders, 672 Great Road. In this update, why didn't they highlight what the change was? Instead of trying to read between the two papers here to find out what's what here. They need to do a better job on that.
Well, there was no motion for Article 12 in the handout, so this is the motion.
Yeah,
So
Don
really
McIver,
no
43
difference.
Foster
Yes, sir.
Street. Thank you. I should point out that our recent vote on Article 11 increases our chances of getting the $400,000 grant because it will be accessory to it. And having talked this afternoon to the administrator that gives out the land grants, we should hear about this in next week or two. But we have a very good chance of getting that. Thank you. And I should also point out the Conservation Trust did pay for the survey in this. We learned the 60 acres that Joyce Williams has been paying taxes on for the 62 years is actually only 40 acres. So this woman has paid her dues.
All right. Thank you. Anyone else that wishes to speak? Oh, I'm sorry. Didn't see you there. Go ahead.
That's okay.
Thank
Judy
you.
Osgood, Pamela Way. I really don't want to cause another ballot vote, but somebody really needs to convince me why we're going to borrow more money for this. You just said it's a borrowing, which means that if I say no, and I'm the only one that says no here, that I'm going to force everybody to go back up, and I don't really want to do that. So somebody really needs to convince me why we're going to vote again to borrow more money.
So the funding aspect, the cost is $1.2 million, and as was mentioned before, we'll get $4,000 from a land grant. Mr. McIver just mentioned that. We hope to see that soon. We'll get CP. What did I say? 400,000. Sorry, I don't know what I said there. And we'll also be getting some money from the CPA funds as well. So I think this is an important property that allows us to do some very interesting things with trails and conservation, and as a priority to support them.
Just want to add a point. The CPC funds, a lot of them are fed by committed income stream we have from the cell tower revenues and such. So a borrowing is necessary to match the spending up with the projected income. So it's not borrowing in a vacuum, it's borrowing against known revenue streams. Specifically for open space. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Yes, sir?
I think to answer the to address the previous speaker's concerns, what we've seen over the years is that the alternative to this property being bought by the town for conservation is development. And the numbers I heard, and somebody can correct me, was potential for it's either 24 or 26 house lots. One of the statements that has also been brought up many, many times here is residential development rarely pays its own way. The property taxes received generally do not cover the full cost of supporting those additional homes, the biggest cost being kids in the school system. So by buying this as conservation land, don't think of it as a cost. Think of it as an investment and eventually a cost savings to us, and that's in addition to the improvement in the quality of the town and the preservation of open space. These properties don't come along every day. We have to act when the property is available. I wholeheartedly support this article.
Okay. Thank you. Yes, ma'am?
Hi, I'm Joanne Derry from Harwood Avenue, and I just wanted to comment on the other person's question as well. Yes, there's some borrowing here, but the borrowing proposed is 1/10 of that was proposed for the turf football field. I don't know if that article will have passed or not, but I do think that this land that's being set aside perhaps for so-called passive recreation will benefit a much larger segment of our population, including, you know, anyone who wants to take a walk with their dog, their stroller, people who are not high school age and don't play high school sports will still be using this land. So I think it's okay to spend and to borrow the $400,000 to benefit that segment of the population as well.
Okay. Thank you very much. Seeing no one at the microphone, so I think we're ready to move to a vote for the motion under Article 12, and we'll try to get a unanimous voice vote on this. It's borrowing and does require the ballot and checklist unless the vote is unanimous. So all those in favor of Article 12 as written on the yellow update sheet this evening, please signify by saying aye. Those opposed? The ayes have it. It passes by a unanimous vote. Thank you very much. Okay, we'll move forward now to Article 13, which is a two-thirds vote because it involves an interest in land. I'll read the motion to you. There's a slight correction in the second line, and I'll get to that in a moment. Moved and seconded by the Board of Selectmen that the town vote to transfer the care, custody, control, and management of Assessor's Map, and it should say U12, parcels 111, 113, 114, and 115 to the Board of Selectmen to be held for the purpose of sale, and to authorize the Selectmen to sell said parcels pursuant to the procedures set forth in Mass General Law, Chapter 30B, subject to a deed restriction that these parcels shall be permanently combined with each other and with another abutting lot or lots to collectively form no more than one building lot for a single-family dwelling, and subject to other terms and conditions as the board shall determine to be in the best interests of the town. I'll turn to Selectman Carr once again.
Thank you, Mr. Moderator. So these are small lots down by the lake, Long Lake. We had a petitioner come in that owns a buildable lot and is going to rebuild a house, and he needs to put a septic system in. This individual came in and brought the neighbors in. Neighbors were concerned and are concerned about the huge concrete wall it will take to deal with the septic issue. So by authorizing us to put a deed restriction on these small lots, we will put a no-build restriction on these lots, so we're not going to have more houses. With the Sanderson property being developed, the Cooper property, and the Durkee farm being developed, we're really going to be close to having our 40B issue again. So what this is doing is it's allowing an individual that owns a house to put in a septic system and not have the neighbors have to look at a 6-foot concrete wall. The neighbors came before us. Board of Selectmen said this is a good thing for the neighborhood. It's not going to increase our housing inventory, and I'd ask that you all support this so that we can put the deed restriction on the property, have it sold through auction, and assess it and tax it, get it back on the tax rolls. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Selectman Carr. Before we get to the discussion on Article 13, I have some news that may interest some of you. At the risk of clearing the room out, I'll tell you that there were 753 ballots cast under Article 7. There were 596 in favor, 157 opposed. A two-thirds majority would have been 502 votes, so it passes by. Okay, yeah, thank you very much. So it does pass by the necessary two-thirds majority, and I do declare it a vote. Thank you very much. Thank you to the town clerk and her checkers and counters for the work that they did here tonight. And if anyone is leaving, we won't take it personally. Just please do so in an orderly fashion, and we'll continue with Article 13. Okay, yes, ma'am. Center microphone.
Hi, I'm Cammie Bean on Oak Road. I'm one of the neighbors, and the story here, the neighbors on Oak Road are in favor of this. When originally the developer came wanting to build a house on this lot with a retaining wall for the septic that was my height, pretty much, and this is in a neighborhood in Long Lake where we have more sloping areas, so they came to the Board of Selectmen asking to purchase all of these. And we're in favor of that because it will mean one house here as opposed to 4 houses in this part of the neighborhood. The question I actually do have, Mr. Moderator, is it says no build lot. Does that mean that the septic will be on the Oak Road lots? And because I think the plan is for the builder to actually have a more sloping landscape there so that they won't have to have this really high septic. So is the septic going to be on the Oak Road lot? And no build means nothing can go on the Narcissus Road lots, because I know some of the neighbors had some concerns about that who live on Narcissus.
Okay, let's see if we can get an answer to that question.
Thank you, Mr. Moderator. So it's, if approved tonight, the restrictions will be based on public input and what the Board of Selectmen actually requires. So to answer the question, we can let the septic system be built on that. Just no buildings, no houses, no additional houses. Did that answer your question?
Okay. Yes, at this microphone.
Gabrielle, Harvard Road. It mentioned in the bulletin that the Finance Committee did not support. May I please hear the reasons why?
Okay, well, I'll recognize Mr. Champney of the Finance Committee.
Thank you, Mr. Moderator. This lot, or these 4 lots, have a current assessed value of $130,800. And if these 4 lots turn into a non-buildable lot, that assessed value drops to $20,300. This was purely financial on our behalf, why we didn't support this. Now, we did vote this evening before town meeting to put an insertion into this article that we would support it, unanimously support it, if the article had this verbiage added, that the property would sell for no less than the current assessed value of $130,800. That way the town is getting their full value out of this property versus potentially giving it away for next to nothing.
Okay, and you offer that
Thank
as
you.
an amendment, sir? Yes. Okay. So the amendment would be,
I have a,
well, let me see if there's a second and whether. Second. Okay, the amendment would be in the third line of the motion after the term purpose of sale, there'd be a comma and a clause that would say for no less than the current assessed value of $130,800, comma, and then it goes on and to authorize the Board of Selectmen. So that's been moved and seconded. So that amendment is what is currently on the floor being debated at this point in time. So I think we're going back to the center, Mike, and then I'll get you.
Yeah, I'd just like to point out at last town meeting, we looked at these 4 lots, and it was someone had wanted to cherry pick the first 2 lots, the middle 2 lots, leaving 2 vacant lots, which would be abandoned. And I protested. I said that's not very good land use, whether it's used for development or whatever. And if it were a private owner that had it, those 4 lots would be joined together. So in some ways, it's very nice that it's a solution that the neighbors like. It's also good land use, and I also understand the interest in raising the price a bit, but maybe we can find some compromise here. So it's just a comment.
Okay, thank you. And now we'll go over here.
Yeah,
Yes, ma'am.
Pat Robinson from Maplehurst Road, and I have property on Narcissus Road also. The lots, when you combine them, are larger than this building lot on Oak Road. So my problem with this is we already have 2 houses that are on Oak Road that have their septic systems on Narcissus. We're turning Narcissus Road into Honey Pot Hill. It's not fair, it's not right. If they want a house on Oak Road, great, have it there. If they want to have the land backed up to Narcissus, but do not put another septic system draining onto Narcissus Road. Everyone that has property on Narcissus has signed a petition to have the road finished. It doesn't have drainage like Oak Road does or like our road does. So this no bill there, let them build a house on Narcissus and put the septic system on Oak Road.
Okay, thank you. Before I get to you, Jerry, I just wanted to pass along to folks that the lights in the gymnasium are on a timer. They will go out at 1 a.m., but I've been assured they'll be turned back on within seconds, so I don't want anyone to. So lights go out, just remain in place, and they'll come back on. With that, Jerry, go ahead.
I want to echo Mr. Champney's comments, and that is very often these small lot sales end up going for a pittance. In this case, you talk about putting it to an auction, but realistically, there's one buyer, particularly with a no build restriction. So I think it's mandatory that the selectmen set some kind of a minimum price so you don't sell them for the $1,000. The guy saves a fortune on a septic and walks away building another McMansion. If, the $130,000 assessment assumes the lots combined are buildable, do you have a ghost of a chance of getting a perk and a septic on them?
Okay, thank you. Sir, if you're ready, hit the center mic.
I thought she was standing.
Well,
I just wanted to say that as
Please tell us who you
Sure.
are, just so we know.
My name's Eileen, and I live on Maplehurst, and we have land that abuts the property on Narcissus. My concern is even less for my land, but the other people that do live on Narcissus Road and have at the end, because it's a private road, it's a dirt road, people are continually having to drag gravel down because other homes are draining, there's drainage coming down the roads. So it's a major cost for people who live on that road to have more no-build properties that could be potentially draining and flooding down the road. If the town's not willing to make it public, I can't support it.
Okay, thank you. Yes, sir?
Got George Sanders, 672 Great Road. I guess my first question is, if these lots are not buildable, then why is the assessment at $130,000? Which doesn't make sense. And number two, if you're going to use it for a septic system over there, where they're going to put it in, is there a problem putting this septic system in over there by selling these lots to one person? And if you're going to sell it to them, I think that you need to put a reasonable figure there, because if that's what he's going to do and you're going to say it's not buildable, then that's an expensive septic system that he's going to put in.
All right, thank you. Mr.
Yeah,
Chairman.
these 4 lots combined are 20,000 square feet, so they would be buildable. Today, they don't have a deed restriction on them, and that's my understanding of the parcels.
Okay, thank you. Anyone else wish to be heard regarding the amendment? The motion to amend the main motion to include the phrase "for no less than the current assessed value of $130,800." There we go. In the third line after the word "sale," before the word "and."
Thank you
Yes.
very much for the amendment, because I looked up 34 Cedar Hill Road, and it sold in April for $145,000. So any...
I'm sorry, what, we're on Narcissus Road right now.
Yes, but I'm saying that I'm very glad someone put in that amendment, because I don't trust financial real estate dealings in this town very much.
Okay, thank you. All right, why don't we take a vote on the motion to amend? All those in favor of adding the phrase "for no less than the current assessed value of $130,800" to the motion signify by saying aye. Those opposed? Okay, the ayes have it. The motion is amended. And we'll now move to a vote on the main motion as amended. So I'll read that again to you. Moved and seconded by the Board of Selectmen that the town vote to transfer the care, custody, control, and management of Assessor's Map U12, parcels 111, 113, 114, and 115 to the Board of Selectmen to be held for the purpose of sale for no less than the current assessed value of $130,800, and to authorize the Board of Selectmen to sell said parcels pursuant to the procedures set forth in Mass General Laws, Chapter 30B, subject to a deed restriction, that these parcels shall be permanently combined with each other and with another abutting lot or lots to collectively form no more than one building lot for a single-family dwelling, subject to other such terms and conditions as the board shall determine to be in the best interests of the town. All those in favor of the motion as read, please signify by saying aye. And those opposed? Okay, the ayes have it. I'm sorry, this is a 2/3 vote. That was a little close for me. Why don't we do this by a show of hands at this point?
Did you include the new verbiage in there? I didn't hear you say that. Did I miss it?
I did include the clause that was suggested. All right, let me this is a 2/3 vote, so all those in favor of the motion as read, please raise your hands so I can see them. All right, and all those opposed? Okay, I'd say that is a 2/3 vote, and I do declare it to be such, and the motion passes Please record, Madam Clerk, the two-thirds majority was achieved. Thank you very much. We'll move on to Article, I'm sorry. Well, let's see how people feel. We have 4 articles left at this point in time. Happy to move forward with you. Happy to come back tomorrow night if that's town meeting's pleasure. So if I could see a show of hands, how many people would like to soldier on and finish this thing tonight? Okay. And how many would like to come back tomorrow night? Okay, we're gonna keep going forward. We'll move to Article 14, which is a town bylaw amendment. General bylaw requires a majority vote. And it's been moved and seconded by the Board of Selectmen that the town vote to approve Article 14 as printed in the town meeting warrant. I'll turn to Selectman Joe Knox for the explanation.
Thank you, Mr. Moderator. About 10 years ago, the Town Government Study Committee made a number of recommendations, but one was to strengthen the position of town administrator, but also create a position of assistant town administrator of finance and budget. While doing that, the committee realized at the time that, in quote, at some point in the future, as the town grows, the creation of this position may require hiring additional support and better leverage. That's exactly what's happened right now. We have a fantastic finance department, and Bonnie's doing a phenomenal job. But right now, the amount of time she's spending on non-financial issues is anywhere between 50 and 60% of the time. We need to have her concentrate on the financial issues, because right now it is that important, and she's done such a fantastic job, so that's why this is so important. It also creates an assistant town administrator that would pick up a lot of the duties that she's doing that's non-financial. If need be, I would rely on her, or I would yield to her if people need to know how it was going to be funded.
All right. Thank you. Anyone who wishes to speak with respect to Article 14, the General Bylaw Amendment, Finance and Budget Department and Town Administrator? If not, we'll proceed to a vote. It does require a simple majority. All those in favor of the motion as read, please signify by saying aye. Those opposed? Okay, the ayes have it. It passes by the necessary majority. Thank you very much. We'll move on to Article 15 to establish another post-employment benefits trust fund. And I'll read the motion to you. Moved and seconded by the Board of Selectmen that the town vote to accept the provisions of Mass General Law, Chapter 32B, Section 20, as amended by Section 15 of the Chapter 218 of the Acts of 2016, establishing and other post-employment benefits liability trust fund, and to authorize the Board of Selectmen and Treasurer to execute a declaration of trust, creating an expendable trust for the purpose of holding monies appropriated to such fund, and to designate the Treasurer as the trustee of such trust, and to authorize the transfer of any and all monies currently held for the purpose of paying retiree health and life benefits to such trust, and to authorize the trustee to invest and reinvest the monies in such fund in accordance with the prudent investor rule established in Mass General Law, Chapter 203C, and to authorize the trustee to employ investment consultants to assist in determining appropriate investments and to pay for such services from the trust fund, and to authorize the participation of the Town of Littleton Electric Light Department in the trust fund in accordance with procedures and criteria established by the trustee. You'll note that the Finance Committee and Board of Selectmen both support Article 15. I'll turn to Selectman Glavy for the explanation.
Thank you, Mr. Moderator. I promise the quickest explanation of the evening. If this looks familiar, you've already voted something very similar back in November of 2013. The state has changed some of their requirements to get the language at the state level in accordance with the Government Accounting Standards Board, and what we have to do here is we have to revote and accept those changes that the state made, which are essentially reporting and administrative requirements. There.
All right, thank you. Anyone who wishes to speak with regard to Article 15? All right. If not, we'll proceed to a vote on the motion as read. All those in favor, please signify by saying aye. Aye. Those opposed? Okay, the ayes have it. It passes by the necessary majority. Thank you very much. We now come to Article 16. Articles 16 and 17 are both citizens' petitions. I hope the petitioners hung with us long enough to present. Okay, very good. So let me. There is not a motion in your handbook, but I would say that moved and seconded that the town vote to, in addition to any current posting requirements, all public notices of the meetings of regulatory boards and appointed committees shall be posted online at the town's website in accordance with the same timeframes required for posting physical copies of such notices. All right, and I'll turn now to the petitioner to address town meeting. Yes, ma'am.
What's that?
The floor is yours.
Yes. We're all tired. I'll keep this fast. So we had a petition that over 120 residents signed. I think there's a lot of appetite behind this, and I do want to say respectfully that here in Littleton we're all committed to providing more open and transparent government, and a key piece of this is keeping people informed of what's going on. Today, most of us find our information online. Right now, the current posting law is the bulletin board outside of the town website, or outside of the town offices. And this petition asks that we make our primary notification to be online. The Massachusetts Attorney General recognizes that we're an online society, and in a 2015 amendment to the open meeting law, the Attorney General added a list of alternative posting methods that afford more effective notice to the public. And at the top of that list is to post notice of meetings on the municipal website. So I've heard concerns that this requirement will take more time, it will require additional staffing. I had a great conversation with the town clerk yesterday, and thank you for your time on that, and she talked about the process and a lot of efforts that are being made to improve how posting is going, and I think it was an encouraging conversation. I think there's a lot moving in the right direction. I've also spoken with people since then who signed my original petition who still have an appetite for this. And would like to see this put into effect. So, no matter the decision we make today, I'm, optimistic that we're continuing to move ahead together into the 21st century, which is really a much more digital world than we've been in. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Is there anyone else? Yes, sir, over here.
Hi, Mr. Moderator. My name is Kevin Davis. I'm at 35 Whitetail Way. The petitioner and I have actually had a great conversation, and I took it upon myself to actually call and talk to the attorneys general, and would like to make a motion that we modify the petitioner's request, because the language that was there, the attorneys general didn't say was actually be binding to the town. So the attorneys general was good enough to say that here's the language that we should be using, and it's 3 short sentences. I wrote it down for us. But I would like to read it if that's okay, Mr. Moderator.
Sure, go ahead.
The new language would completely replace the items in quotes, and it would say, adopt the town website as a primary location for posting meeting notices. Physical copies will be available at the town's clerk's office during regular business hours. The new location will be communicated to the AG's office in accordance with 940 CMR 29.03, Section 2, subsection B. And may I approach and hand this to you?
You can bring it forward. I'd like to hear from town council on this. This seems to me to deviate substantially from the citizens' petition, what the voters signed, and what's before you tonight. But let me... the council, do you want to see this language? Are you prepared just to address it?
Yep.
Okay. Thank you.
Good evening, Tom Harrington, Town Council. In my opinion, the article that is before you is not binding on the town. The only way to accomplish the action is by bylaw. The only way we can instruct our elected officials to do things is by bylaw. Town meeting can't just instruct them to do things on their own. That being said, there's whatever action this body takes on this article, it will not be binding on the town clerk. And there is no way, in my opinion, to change the article that you have before you into a bylaw. It's imperative that when the town is adopting a bylaw, that you use the word bylaw somewhere in the warrant article. There was not sufficient notice or warning to the citizens that this would become a bylaw, and so, in my opinion, it cannot. So again, you can act on this article. It would be aspirational, it would be instructional, but it would not be binding.
Council, would that apply to the amendment that's been offered as well?
It would. You can make an amendment. I think the problem with the amendment is it does not turn it into a bylaw.
No, I would agree.
So it's still...
To me, it deviates from the
language, but it's still, this body cannot instruct the town clerk where to post in any way other than by bylaw.
But if I may, Mr. Moderator?
Go ahead.
When I talked with the Attorney Generals, I actually asked that question about did it need to be a bylaw, and the Attorney General specifically said that it did not.
Well, Town Council has advised us that it does need to be a bylaw.
Tim? Yeah, no, I don't know who you talk to, and I'm happy to talk to them on behalf of the town, but in my opinion, you cannot do it if it's not in the form of a bylaw.
Okay, and additionally, I'm going to reject the amendment as being outside of the scope of the article. It deviates substantially from what was presented to voters to sign as a petition to get in on the warrant in the first place. So I think certainly we got a town meeting in the spring, and there's plenty of time to work on a bylaw, and I'm sure Town Council and the board would be happy to make suggestions in that regard. But what we're voting on this evening is the language you find in the warrant, and Council's advised that whether it passes or not, the town clerk is the town official who's empowered to employ posting methods for meeting notices and in addition to many other duties, including elections. So with that, yes, center microphone. Jerry?
I'm going to make this brief. First of all, what this says is we can certainly vote in favor of this or against this and send a message to the town clerk saying this is the opinion of the town meeting and what we desire. Secondly, it looks like this is an additional requirement above and beyond normal posting. That's what the first thing says, in addition to any current posting requirements. And thirdly, I believe Keith, at least in the case of the Board of Selectmen, already does this. I know I can go on the town website and maybe not within the correct posting, but certainly on the day or a day in advance, get the agendas for various boards. So it seems like this is kind of adding to what's already been done. But I would say if we support it, there's really no harm, and we can codify it more officially at annual town meeting if so desired.
Okay, thank you. Yes, sir?
George Sanders, 672 Great Road. If this is not binding, I don't know why we're voting on it. I think, first of all, if we want to ask, there go those lights.
Well, lights should be coming on.
Hey, very good.
Go ahead, George, you were cool for the speaker when the lights went out. Go ahead.
Mr. Moderator?
Yes, sir.
If it's all possible, I would like to hear from the town clerk as to what she thinks that she might be able to offer the petitioner here with regards to her having the manpower to do this, because that's important, because...
Okay, fair enough. We'll get a microphone for the town clerk.
Thank you. Thank you. Through you to the... It is. Thank you. Through you to the former speaker. I'm Diane Crory, your town clerk. I explained this to Cami Bean and explained to her that
a lot of people think that when they come into my office that there's 3 people working in the office, and that's not the case. The case is that I share an office with the tax collector, and it is myself and Linda Lord, who is a part-time person. She works 15 hours a week for the town clerk, and she works 15 hours a week for the tax collector. So what happens is, what I explained, is sometimes a department board will come down and say, I need this posted for a meeting. It's 48 hours in advance, and that's not a lot of notice, but it's the required notice. So there's a lot of steps that go into posting a notice. It's not just a simple go downstairs and post it on the bulletin board. It's not a simple, uploading onto the website. There's a lot of things that go into it. So in our office, being one of the busiest offices in the building, with foot traffic, phone calls, and things that happen, a notice might get missed being uploaded onto the website. So if it does not get uploaded to the website and you want that as the notices, as the legal, I'm going to make a phone call to Keith Bergman and say, hey, guess what, Keith? Board of Selectmen meeting is not going to happen on Monday, and we're going to have a real unhappy camper. And I'm not going to be the one that's going to be calling him to say, well, we changed this notice, and because it's not on the website, you can't hold your meeting. And it's going to be the first time that it happens that he's not going to be happy, and the second time it happens, my job's going to be on the line. So everybody says it's the 21st century, and yeah, you think it's really easy, and it's just a simple uploading of a meeting. But when you as a resident comes walking in that door and you want me to help you, and the phone rings, and then somebody else comes walking in the door, and all kinds of things happen, it can get missed. So to make it the legal is binding my hands. We've made a lot of strides, we've made a lot of changes, and things are really improving. So I understand what you're saying, but to make it legal and binding really does, bind my hands. So that's why I'm saying I ask that you not make it that way. We're getting it up there. We're 95% of the time up there in time, and that's why I'm asking for it not to be changed. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Yeah. Yes, speaker over here.
Mr. Moderator, Jenna Brownson, through you and to Town Council, is there any risk that the petitioner on this citizen's petition or the one that's coming after this one has in having it go to a vote that fails, which would preclude the petitioner for bringing something like this forward at, let's say, Springtown meeting, if in fact there was that appetite? No. Okay, thank you.
Okay. Have we heard from you already, Jerry, or am I just...
Right, very, very quickly, who puts the notices up on the website now? Whoever it is has been doing a darn good job.
Okay. Town Clerk?
So this is what's happened. So we've changed the whole process now. It used to be several different bodies were doing it, and so we now have a new assistant administrator, Clancy Main, who works in the Board of Selectmen's office. So he does it, and it's one person, and he is responsible for all of the postings now. So instead of 5, 6, 7, 8 different people doing it, it's one person. So now if we change it, it comes back to me, because the clerk's office is responsible for the postings. So, it's working, it's improving, and so that's why it's working with Clancy, and, that's why we're asking you not to change it.
Okay, thank you. Yes, ma'am?
Hi, Katie Caruth. I have a quick question. And on the website, are public hearing notices posted any place? Like when there are hearings about a parcel of land or a different permit? I've seen them on the board, but I don't know if they're on the website.
Town Administrator.
Mr. Moderator, through you to the previous speaker, the public hearing notices are on, if you go to the Government tab, which is Departments, Government, you hit Government, and then on the left-hand side, Public Hearing Notices is one of the options, along with Town Code and other things. But the public hearing notices are available and are happening.
Okay. Thank you. All right, I think we're ready to move to a vote. All those in favor of the motion as read under Article 16, please signify by saying aye. Aye. Those opposed? No. Well, let me try that by a show of hands. That might be clearer to me at this point. All those in favor, please raise your hands and leave them up there for a minute, and I can take a good look. Okay, and all those opposed. You know, I hate to say it, I think we're going to have to count because I'm not, I think I can see a slight difference, but if I could get maybe 2 counters to come forward and help us with this, that would be ideal. Okay, thank you very much. All right, and will they each take half? Okay. You'll have this side from the center mic to the wall this way, and you from the center mic this way. Okay, all those in favor, please raise your hands. We'll leave it up until you've been counted. And don't forget the bleachers. All right, all those opposed, please put your hands up. And okay, I think it's clear to me now.
Behind me. I need to count the ones behind me. Behind you.
Okay, there were 37 votes in favor and 68 opposed, so the motion fails. And I declare it a vote. Thank you very much. We'll move on to Article 17, which is also a citizen's petition regarding the ballot and checklist procedure. Moved and seconded that the town vote to, as a matter of procedure relative to any expenditure in excess of $250,000, ballot and checklist is allowed for any measure at any town meeting or any special town meeting if 6 or more eligible voters of the town meeting or the special town meeting request a ballot and checklist vote. Then said vote shall not be preceded by either a voice vote or a hand count vote and will go directly to a ballot and checklist vote. Okay, petitioner, the floor is yours.
Yep, Amy Tarla Lewis, and I'm the petitioner, and I've been waiting all night for my moment in front of you. So here I am. So the reason why I put this petition in this place is that I've experienced town meetings devolve into angry shouting matches. The bylaw brings civility, privacy, and improves the voter experience. We are a small town and issues can become contentious. People have argued that this ballot and checklist will take too much time. I know it's been a little rough tonight, I understand. But I think in fact it will save us time by cutting out the voice and the hand count. The bylaw will be used for borrowing, operating budgets, and capital appropriations that are over $250,000. While collecting signatures, I collected feedback that people are looking for a more conducive experience that creates an environment for more participation. It brings both civility and privacy to town meeting.
The most important participants in town meeting are the voters, and we are the final decision makers. Tonight is a perfect example of why we need civility and privacy in our decision making. Even our moderator himself has decided that we should go to paper ballots for 2 of our articles tonight. The voters are also allowed to make the same decision. We are so lucky to attend an open town meeting where we can deliberate. The final votes would have been very uncomfortable for many if we had not had paper ballots. Based on the suggestion of both town council and the clerk, I'd like to amend the town code 18-16. And I'm asking you to consider in favor of Article 17 tonight.
I missed that last, did you make a motion at the last minute there?
No, I didn't make a motion, but I would like to make a motion that, because I know my language that I submitted does not have the text of amending a bylaw, and so I would like to make a motion to add amending the bylaw in Town Code 18-16 and add it to the language.
I'm not sure. Where would you?
I don't know, just maybe like stick it on the end, at the very
Yeah.
end. I don't know.
Anywhere
I'm not
in
a
there.
lawyer.
Let me just ask town council again to opine on this question, because again, I think it's intended to be a bylaw, but it is not in the form of a bylaw. And therefore,
Yeah, so for the same reasons as the previous article, Mr. Moderator, the town was not on notice that you were attempting or wanted to change the bylaw, and I don't think you can, so I don't think there was sufficient notice, and in my opinion, this again is instructional and controls for this meeting, but you need to come forward with a bylaw amendment and let the town know that you are seeking to amend the bylaw in this manner.
and so an amendment to amend the bylaw or refer to an amendment of the bylaw would be out of order. Again, for the same reasons. It was a citizen's petition that voters signed, that people saw published in the town meeting warrant, and it said nothing about amending any bylaws. So, again, I think at a future town meeting, certainly a valid bylaw could be crafted and could be put before the voters. But as council says, town meeting can vote this up or down. It literally would apply only to this town meeting, so it has the unfortunate position of being the last article on the warrant, so it really would not be effective as presented. So,
Thanks.
do you have anything else? Would you like to craft a proposed bylaw and bring it back to a future town meeting? Is that?
Yes, I would.
Okay, well, I think that, certainly there are people here that can help you do that.
Yeah.
Be happy to do that, but just it can't happen here tonight.
Great, thank you.
Okay, thank you. Yes, sir?
2 very quick comments. One is it possible within the framework of the town meeting to withdraw this so there's no bias one way or the other when they come back with a proposed bylaw? And 2, the idea is great, but I would question the $250,000 threshold. That's quite a few potential ballot and checklist votes. So in any future crafting, maybe taking a look at setting a higher threshold, maybe $500,000 or $1 million. But I think the basic idea is great.
Okay, thank you, Jerry. Yes, George?
George Sanders, 672 Great Road. I apologize to you, ma'am, because I think that the town of Littleton ought to have somebody in the town where a citizen can come and get assistance and know exactly what they are supposed to do and present, and you can alleviate this type of situation here. There's no reason on God's green earth that she didn't get proper assistance as to how she needed to present that. Now you go ahead. You want?
Okay, thank you, sir. I recognize Selectman Carr.
Thank you, Mr. Moderator. They were offered, George, any assistance they wanted. They were offered the assistance if they wanted it, and they were given advice by council.
Okay. All right, is there anyone else that wishes to be heard with regard to Article 17 before we take a vote. We didn't, well, I thought someone was making a move for the microphone there. No. Why don't we, would you like to add something? No, I mean, the motion was probably put before the body, so it can be withdrawn.
So so my goal would be to rewrite it for the spring, right?
Yeah.
So in order for me to be able to do that, do I need to withdraw it right now?
You could,
because I don't want
you could make a
vote
motion to postpone it indefinitely, and then there'd be no action taken on it, no harm, no foul. It wouldn't be a vote up or down. You'd have a chance to come back in the future with something that
Okay, so
would stay.
I guess I'll postpone it.
Motion to postpone
Motion to
indefinitely?
postpone.
Okay, has that been seconded by anyone? Okay, we have a motion to postpone action on Article 17 indefinitely. All those in favor, please signify by saying aye. Aye. Aye, those opposed? Okay, the motion carries. No action was taken on Article 17. It's been postponed indefinitely, and we'll probably see it at some point in the future. Before I entertain a motion to dissolve, I'd like to thank once again the Board of Selectmen, the Finance Committee, certainly the Town Administrator and our Finance Director for their help with this town meeting. The Town Clerk and her crew did an outstanding job tonight. I'd like to give them another round of applause for that. And our thanks again to LCTV for hanging with us tonight, and I'm glad you hung in with us and we got this done tonight. With that, I'll entertain a motion to dissolve this special town meeting. So move seconded. All those in favor, please signify by saying aye. Aye. Those opposed, this town meeting is dissolved.